Hello and welcome to episode 32 of the Make Things Club podcast. My name is Sarah and I'm the host of this thing, and I'm coming at you on September 16th from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, where I live with my fiance and my two cats. If you would like to stalk me on the internet or follow along on my crafty adventures and you kind of just don't feel like waiting 2 months for a podcast, you can find me on Instagram as Loose Pages and on Ravelry as romperlust. I also have a group for this podcast and we have a cal currently going on, and if you wanted to find out more information about either of those things, you can search under the groups tab on Ravelry for the Make Things Club. It's a mediumly, intermittently, words. It's an intermittently cloudy day, so there might be some variances with, the sun and the lighting situation. So I'm just going to pull through it and ignore it and not worry about it too much, and hopefully it just works itself out. So if you notice things shifting a bit, it's just because the sun is kind of playing hide and go seek, and it's just not something that I can control. So moving on. Anyways, if this is your first time checking out my podcast, thank you so much for giving me a chance, and I hope you find something that you like. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for sticking with me and putting up with my schedule or lack thereof. So I do have a couple things that I wanted to show this week. I've been meaning to record a podcast for the last couple weeks, but something has always come up, so I apologize for that. Last weekend my mother-in-law was here. The weekend before that there was probably some reason, and I'm in the midst of wedding planning, and my wedding's in about 4 months. So as you can kind of gather by interacting with me of any sort, I'm a little stressed about that and quite busy trying to get all that stuff going. So we are kind of towards the end of a knit-along that I've been hosting on this channel. I'll chat a bit about that in a second. Yeah, it's been a crazy couple months, so I was going to potentially, and I feel really weird doing this, but I feel like at the same time I could really use the help, make a what should I be doing wedding themed thread on my Ravelry group, just because I kind of feel like I'm losing my mind right now and I don't have any clue as to what I'm doing. So just regarding Ravelry group stuff, if I start something there, will you guys give me advice? Yeah, I don't want my Instagram feed to turn into an oh my god, I'm wedding stuff, but there are some things that I would love some other opinions on. So if I start that in the Ravelry group, I hope that people will, check me and give me advice and suggestions, because right now I'm kind of trying to plan playlists for stuff, and I could really use some music recommendations. So I think I'm going to start a little thing on the Rav group just to kind of hopefully get me going a bit, and I hope you guys will help me out. Anyways, like I said, it was pretty busy for the last couple months. August was a bit of a gong show just regarding life and motivation and not sleeping at night and just being overly tired for the world. So I didn't get around to too much knitting in August, or anything in August really. But I did finish another, I can't enter because it's my own cal, but I did finish something else for my cal that I will show today. So I guess just regarding other stuff, I'm disorganized today and we're just going to roll through it. So I'll talk about the cal right now, and we are kind of in the last legs of it. So I've been hosting the Fuck It, I'm Fine knit along since, I don't know, May, June, something, July? I don't remember when I started it, but the deadline is coming up. So if you guys are working on something for the cal, the deadline is on September 30th. I will say that if you submit a finished object into the finished object thread and you notice that it's still unlocked, and say on September 30th you wake up that morning and you're like, I have 2 inches left on sleeves, I'm gonna roll through it, and you check the Rav group and it's still unlocked, I'm gonna say you can submit as long as the group, or as long as the thread is unlocked. The reason why I say this is because I know some people are kind of like really, really close to finishing, and the other reason I say that is because I will actually be in Vancouver that weekend for Knit City. So if I don't have a chance, or if I forget, or let's be honest, if, you know, there's some drinks involved, and there will be, I might forget to lock the thread, and I'm gonna give you guys permission that if you see that thread is unlocked and say it's October 1st, and you're like, I just finished this thing, the thread's unlocked, but it's past the deadline, just go for it. If it's unlocked, keep submitting it. I might actually remember to submit it or to close it on the 30th. I also might not. So if you see that the thread's unlocked and you just finished and you're like, the thread's unlocked, but it's past the deadline, just submit it anyways. I'm not giving an extension per se, but if I forget to unlock it, don't feel like you can't submit. If I unlock that, or if I lock that thread, then that's kind of the end. But if it's unlocked, I think you get the gist. I've said unlocked like 15 times in the last 30 seconds. So yeah, if you find that the thread's unlocked, submit away. I will lock it when I remember, and then I have prizes to draw. So if you've never heard of this knit along, it's the Fuck It I'm Fine Cal, and it's supposed to motivate people to knit something for themselves now. It's not a future knit, it's not planning when I've lost 20 pounds, it's a I am a beautiful creature and I deserve a fucking sweater now kind of thing. It's meant to promote body positivity, it's meant to promote self-love and self-worth and confidence, and some of you guys have been incredible. If you want to feel good about yourselves or just kind of feel like we have a really amazing community, go to the chatter thread and read some of them. People have been posting their finished objects and saying, you know, this really, you know, was important to me and it mattered, and I think that that's really incredible. I think that if we start changing the way that we think about ourselves and our lives and the important things that we're supposed to focus on, which is not consistently hating our bodies and continuously hating ourselves because we don't have what we think is perfect bodies. So that was kind of the premise of this. If you are a super fast knitter and you can crank out a sweater in less than 2 weeks, then you're more than welcome to join. There's still time if you can finish that in 2 weeks. It just has to fit you now. It's not something that you're making for 2 years from now yourself when you've lost 20 pounds or the baby weight's gone. It's the measurements have to fit you now and you have to wear it now. So that's kind of the only stipulations. With prizes, because I don't think I've ever shown, and I don't even think I posted pictures. I know I've shown one skein off on Instagram, but I would like to just show the prizes that I have. So I'm going to be drawing 2 prizes. The grand prize is going to be for the finished object, so that'll come out of the FO thread. So make sure if you finish something to post your finished objects in the thread, because that's where I'm going to be drawing the grand prize from. And the grand prize is a skein of Palindrome Knits, and this is from Hannah. So Hannah graciously donated 1 skein of this beautiful yarn, and I actually have stash enhancement to show you as well because I ordered from her shop. So this is her Kisa fingering, which is 70% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. So it's an MCN. It is the softest, squishiest, most beautiful yarn. It feels amazing. And this is her neon graffiti colorway. So this has 400 yards. It's 115 grams, so it's slightly bigger than usual skeins. And it's just incredible. Look at these colors. So it's a bit of a party. So this is going to be up for grabs in the grand prize. I also have, because I think it matches really well, I had a bunch of pouches donated to me from Kim from Ginger Snap That. And this is the last one, the one that I haven't given away yet. So I'm going to also put this up with that skein of yarn because it matches and the colors are pretty complementary. So this is just a little notions pouch that you can kind of throw stuff in. So that'll also be included with that yarn. And then for the second prize, and both of these prizes come, I'm looking in the wrong place, my camera's on that side. Both of these prizes also come with a pattern, a free pattern from Megan of Pip and Pin, which is awesome because she's got some amazing patterns. So there will also be 2 patterns that you can select from her Pip and Pin's pattern selections on Ravelry. So both the grand prize and the second place prize will come with pattern selections that you can have. I also received a skein donated to me for the second prize, and the second prize is going to come from the chatter thread. So I'm not entirely sure exactly how I'm going to do it. I might actually look through the thread and pick the people who are like really supportive and wonderful and just really encouraging, and then draw from that selection. Or I might just do that thing where you random number generator and look through. One of the times that I did a chatter thread giveaway, I ended up getting myself like one of my comments like 4 times in a row before I actually found somebody else. So I'm gonna think of a different way to do it, but I generally want to have a selection of people who are really encouraging and really like just, you know, girl gang kind of stuff. So the second prize comes with a skein of True Sock 4-ply, and this was graciously donated to me from Jess at Haven Fiber Arts on the same day that she alerted me that Edmonton's getting a new yarn store, because I was giving her some stuff. I'm rambling. But anyways, I was meeting up with her to give her some stuff that a friend had for her, and she surprised me with this. So this is the second place skein, the chatter thread giveaway. So this is incredibly beautiful because all of Jess's yarn usually is, but this one's called Lavender. And this is her True Sock 4-ply, which means it is an 85/15 superwash merino nylon, and there's 437 yards in this. So this in a pattern will be the other prize. So yeah, if you want any of these things, get your submissions in. Thank you guys so much for donating these prizes. It's really, really awesome that I have people that want other people to have beautiful things too. So thank you so much to Hannah, who is Palindrome Knits. Check her out on Etsy. She's got amazing stuff. She also sent me 2 cat pouches that I don't know, my cats go insane over them. They still do, even though it's like not as fresh and the catnip is probably not as potent, but damn, they go nuts for them. And then yeah, yarn, beautiful yarn. Thank you so much, you guys. Thanks to Jess and Hannah. So that's knit along stuff. So when it comes to the knit along, I was knitting myself a crop top tee, and I can't remember how far along I was in the last episode, but I had pretty much just started, I think. I think I was still on the lace trim of this. But I finished my Mount Pleasant tee, and this is the first one because I also started and finished a second one. So this is my first one, and it's really hard. I'm sitting on the floor of my bedroom today because I just like sitting cross-legged, and this is more comfortable, but it's also probably going to be a little tricky to show stuff off a little bit. So yeah, this is my first tee. I knit this out of Haven Yarn and Fiber Arts because Jess is a wizard. I've got my iPad with notes, so I'm probably just gonna like disappear from frame for a bit. So yeah, this is the first tee that I did, and it's the bouquet colorway, and I can't remember, I think it's just her normal sock base, either way. This is the bouquet colorway, and I'm gonna scooch forward just to show you what it looks like. So it's absolutely beautiful. My favorite part of this yarn are these little tiny blue, little baby blue speckles that just come up every once in a while. It's just my favorite. So yeah, this was my first like clothing piece. I've knit one sweater before, and that was it. So this is kind of like my first garment that I've ever knit myself. And this is a pattern by Pip and Pin, and it's the Mount Pleasant top. It has this maybe this was a bad idea. It has this beautiful trim this lace trim at the bottom, and I actually just freshly reblocked this because I sweat in it a few times this summer, let's be honest. So it's got this lace trim on the bottom, and then these like sleeves on the top, which really don't count as sleeves, and then we've got some ribbing for the collar as well. So yeah, this was my first garment. It's a fairly easy, quick knit, and I actually really enjoyed it. As soon as I cast this off, I basically cast another one on. But I will talk a little bit about just the process of knitting this. So I knit the lace part in one. I had two skeins, and I started alternating the body after the lace trim was finished. I did have some problems with my sleeves. I had to take out the bind off because I bound them off too tight, and I was getting that like sausage thing on my arms. I still have a problem on the left side with it cutting into my arms a little bit, but for the most part the fit is pretty good. It does, and it will creep up, it does feel a little short to me. It doesn't quite sit, I just put it on, even though it's probably not going to be the best. It does kind of sit right at my natural waist, which is quite high up because I am nothing but torso. So it does fit quite well. Oh, actually this fits a lot better. I haven't put it on since I reblocked it. So yeah. If you can see, this is kind of still where it cuts into the back arm chub there. But it's a beautiful color. I feel really good in it. I feel pretty in it. I still haven't quite figured out exactly how to wear it, but for the most part I've just been throwing it over top of dresses that have really skinny spaghetti straps and wearing it to work. So that's the first one. I'll hold it up again. And then the second one that I started, I made a little bit bigger. And this is kind of creased now. But this is also the Mount Pleasant tee. I knit this out of a yarn that I've actually never seen before. And I should have the band in it, the band here, because I don't know what kind of yarn it is. But I believe it's a merino. This is Manos del Uruguay in the Fino? No, the Milo base. So this comes in a merino linen, and I think it might even be 70-30. But this is the Conifera colorway. So it's a beautiful green, kind of tonal, a little bit of like silvery. It's really pretty. This is a single, and I was a little nervous about knitting a garment in a single ply because anytime I look at any yarn and I think about wearing it, I hear Stephanie Pearl McPhee in the background going, you can't put an armpit in that. Because every time that I've heard her talk or that I've seen her at Knit City, that's like the one thing that always comes out of her mouth is that you can't put an armpit in that. So that's what I think of all the time. So I was a little nervous with this just because I do have an armpit. I have 2 armpits in this actually, but whatever, it'll probably be fine. I'm not gonna be like, it should be fine. I just have this weird slight fear of single ply yarn. I respect it. I have a healthy fear and respect of single ply just because I feel like I don't live a single ply life. I need like workhorse everything because I am not careful and I'm not a single ply lifestyle. Anyways, that probably makes no sense to anybody. This is the second one that I made, and the only modifications that I really did, because the first one that I did was true to pattern, I didn't change anything. I added 2 extra layers, 2 extra repeats of the lace. So if you can kind of see the difference, it's a little bit longer on this one. So I added 2 repeats of the lace to make it a little longer, and then I picked up a lot more stitches for the neck, for the collar band, because I was hoping to have it a little bit more like a boat neck kind of thing. The only other thing that kind of happened because of this is that the pattern calls for a fingering weight. This was an Aran weight, so I went up in needle size and pretty much got gauge. For the first one, I used the recommended needles. I got gauge on the needles that were recommended for the pattern, which was very surprising and kind of cool at the same time. So this was knit with 3.5 millimeter needles for the body, I believe. No, 3.75 millimeter needles for the body and 3.5 millimeters for the lace. So this was the pattern recommendation. With this one, I kind of guesstimated that I would need to go up at least one needle size. So when I did my gauge swatch on this guy, I did the gauge swatch in a 4.0 millimeter needle and got 25 stitches per inch. I think it's 24 it's supposed to be. So I was like, whatever, it'll be a little bit bigger, which is also fine because I felt like this one really hugged the boobs really closely. So this was gonna be like my comfy version. So that basically turned out really well. This one felt like it took forever to knit. I don't know if I was just really busy or if it was just, you know, life stuff that was kind of keeping me from wanting to work on it, but this one took a little bit longer than I thought it would to do. And I feel like it might be really bulky. When I've been wearing it previously, it makes me feel really like wide. I don't know how to describe it. It just makes me feel a little bit like a football player. But anyways, I haven't put this on since I blocked it. But this one sits more at my hips, which hopefully will make it a little bit easier to wear. And it also has a little bit more, and this is from when it was laying down on the mat, so I might have to futz that out. But it has more of a like sleeve as well. So this is my second Mount Pleasant. And I'm not gonna lie, I want to do a third one in black because I feel like that would be ultra wearable. This one here, I feel I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of it just because it's so much easier to pair with colors, I think. This one here, I still haven't quite figured out how to really wear it. And at this point now, I'm kind of looking for dresses and skirts that work with it. So those are my Mount Pleasant tees. I really like the pattern. It's pretty well written. I have a problem when it comes to reading patterns and like feeling confident about things. I kind of overthink instructions. So I did have a couple times where I was like working on them and I'm just like, what? Like, I don't know, I overthink things, and I don't know if that's like something that will come with experience, where I read a pattern and it's like, pick up this many stitches and then slip this and then do that, and then not necessarily question everything about it to kind of be like, well, if it says slip 6 stitches, then should I also be, you know, like I have a really hard time sometimes with patterns. So I know I wrote down in my notes something specific about this. No, maybe I didn't. It's just I nitpick instructions quite a bit. So for me, it's just like, I feel thankful to all of my knitting friends that kind of go like, no, you're doing that wrong, because I'm overthinking things. So thank you guys for helping me out with that. No, I'll do that after. The other finished object that I have, finally, is my Succulents shawl. And this is a paid pattern on Ravelry from Maria Monska. And I am done. It's honestly one of my favorite shawls right now, and I wear it a lot lately, now that it's fall. So I worked this in Manos del Uruguay, Alegria, in the sand colorway. So this is the one that's very close to my skin color. And I did it as the pattern wrote, so no modifications or anything. And yeah, I'm a pretty big fan. So this is kind of the shawl that I've been wearing quite a bit lately, just because it's so wearable. And that's one of the things that I'm really focusing on with my knits. And my yarn buying is just kind of going for those healthy neutrals that you can kind of throw on with anything. I've been working through purging my apartment and my life of things that I don't need and clothes that I don't feel 100% in. I want everything to be 100, and this shawl is like one of those things where I'm like, that's what I'm looking for. Simplicity. The color is really, really subtly tonal as well. It looks like it's all one color, but there is little variances, so it's not completely flat in terms of its color, and it's supremely wearable. I don't have to think about it. I can just throw it on anything, and that's kind of where I'm trying to move towards with my wardrobe and my knitting, I guess. It's just having a lot more of these workhorse items that I can just throw on and go. So I'm really, really happy with how this turned out. I'm not gonna lie, halfway through it kind of did start feeling a little bit like a slog for me. Mostly just because I wanted to be done it. So I feel like for this, I was half process and then mostly product knitting. I finished it in July, I believe, because I didn't bring any other projects with me. Oh, I have a hat that I have to show too. I can grab that in a bit. I didn't bring any other projects with me besides just an empty, like a wound skein of yarn that I had a loose pattern for in mind for a hat. But my fiance and I drove to Kelowna, which is about a 10 to 11, sometimes 12-hour drive, depending on the weather, for a visit in the summer. So on the way there, I brought a hat pattern and I brought this, and that's all I brought. I wasn't allowed to bring any other projects. I wasn't allowed to bring any other yarn. It was finish your succulent sweater and do it because you're stuck in a car for 12 hours and you have no choice. So I worked on this in the car, and I was kind of alternating skeins, which I didn't need to do, but I've made this mistake so many times towards the end of my first skein, just because I really didn't want that line. So I have one sweater where I didn't alternate skeins, and one shawl that I didn't alternate skeins with, and I can see that line every single time I look at it. Nobody else can, but I can, and it drives me crazy. So towards the end, I was, had to have been around here, but I was alternating the skeins because I was kind of close to the end of the first one, and didn't realize until it was too late that on the side where I had started alternating, there was a section, and I still have no idea how I did this. I have no idea what the heck happened. But we're sitting in a car listening to podcasts, my fiance's driving, and I'm sitting there knitting, and then all of a sudden I look down and I'm like, oh my God. And he goes, what? And I'm like, I made a mistake. I don't know what happened, you guys. It still makes no sense to me. I originally thought that I started knitting with the tail of one of the places where I started alternating. So like I said, I don't understand. So I was sitting there and I'm like, I'm gonna attempt some surgery. So I dropped down my stitches and I'm trying to like fix everything, because at this point I didn't know what was wrong. It just kind of looked like something was twisted. So I dropped down my stitches and I'm looking and I'm just like, that's weird. So one of my stitches, it was like an extra loop behind. So when I tried to pick stuff up, it just didn't work. And then I realized, oh my God, I think I was knitting with the tail instead of the working yarn. But then I must have started working with the working yarn again. I honestly have no idea what happened. Either way, I couldn't fix it and I couldn't live with it. So I ended up spending 2 hours tinking back, because I am very, very afraid of just ripping stuff out and catching my stitches again. So I spent 2 solid hours tinking stitches on pretty much needles that would have had like at least 300 stitches on them, which honestly would have killed me had I been at home and had I, not been stuck in a car with nothing else to do. So I fixed it, I reknit everything, and the only other problem that I have, and this is like the bane of my existence, because I love looking at picot bind-offs, I love blocking things that have picot bind-offs. I hate doing picot bind-offs. I hate doing them. I have a really hard time counting, and I have a hard time remembering numbers that actually mean stuff. Like, I will sit there and knit, and I, like, in the Mount Pleasant tee, there's like a section on the collar where you're supposed to start binding off to make the collar, and it's like knit 51 stitches and then like bind off, whatever. So I'll be sitting there knitting and I'll be counting, but then at some point I'll stop paying attention, and then it'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 17, 15, 16, and then like I just pick a random number that has nothing to do with any of the numbers that were around it and then start counting from there. Or I just start counting, but I'm not actually paying attention to the numbers. And that's kind of, I don't know if that's like an ADHD thing or just a focus thing or just the way my brain works, because me and numbers, probably borderline dyslexic. Picot bind offs are the same thing, where I will be like, okay, so bind off, 6, and then knit this, and then knit 3, and then bind off 6. I can't count. And if I lose count, I can't quite see what I did. I have a really hard time reading picot bind off. So if I'm like, wait, what number was I on? I can't necessarily identify in my bind off how many stitches I knit or I bound off before I'm supposed to do the picots. Does that make sense? So my picot bind off, I feel, because I don't think that she would just be like whatever about it. If you look carefully on the bind offs, there is kind of a lace pattern that goes with it. So this is the last part of the shawl, if you can see. So it's almost like a little leaf pattern. And there are, let's do this, because then I can hold it up. So there's that lace pattern. And the bind off, I believe, is supposed to make this part here. So if I like kind of go through, there are certain parts in pattern that nail it, and it's perfect. And let me find one of those. I guess this is probably the closest one. Now let's go back to let's go to the beginning. That's close. But if you look carefully, you've got these yarn overs here, but then maybe it's not supposed to be like that. Maybe it was a fluke. Like that. Where when you do your picot bind off, it makes this part here. And that's all in line, and it's kind of like perfect. But then, because I can't count and because I am not the best at focusing on anything, I know that I messed up on my bind off. So then you've got things like this. And as a type A, super anal retentive type of person, stuff like that, where the stupid little yarn over thing doesn't line up in pattern, kind of drive me crazy. I kind of stopped binding this off and left it for a full 24 hours before I came back to it, because I didn't want to undo it, but I didn't know if I could live with it. Either way, I just did it. I'm living with it. I don't even know if that was an intent to have like all of my little bind off parts kind of culminate in this point on this pattern, because some of it doesn't line up perfectly and some of it does. So that's kind of my only complaint about this shawl, is just that I am not suited to do long bind offs in picot, I guess. I just don't have the attention span for it, and I don't have the drive to do that. So that's kind of my only complaint about this shawl, is that I just kind of feel like a mess when I have to do picot bind offs on long rows. Anyways, it's still gorgeous. I still love it. I still get lots of compliments on it, so I have no complaints, really. I do have one more finished object, but I have to go grab it, so I'll do that right now. All right, so the other thing that I knit in the car, and this I actually did like in one day, is the Mina hat by Ella Torrente. This is a paid pattern on Ravelry, and this is the finished object. So I have not blocked this. which I'm concerned about. Maybe I just never will. But I knit this out of Brooklyn Tweed Shelter. Yeah, and this is the camper colorway. So it'll look stupid because I have my hair up. Boop! Who needs pom-poms when you've got a massive amount of hair on the top of your head? Either way, I like the color. I wore this camping when I went with my family last month, and it was freezing cold, so this was really nice to have. And this is one of those other patterns where I'm like just second guessing all of the instructions and feeling like I don't know what's going on. In this pattern here, to make these lines and stuff, you have to slip stitches over. So you'll get to a marker and it's like move stitch 1 or slip stitch 1 to left needle, or slip stitch to the right needle, or like move stitch marker 1 stitch, whatever. You guys kind of probably don't even understand what I'm talking about. But that's when I'm just like, what do you mean like I have to move 1 stitch over or back? Do I knit it? Am I supposed to like knit it and then, like, I have a hard time just taking instructions at value and not overthinking them and thinking that I have to do something in addition to those instructions. So this is one of those things where I'm like kind of feeling like I might have interpreted it wrong, because there are kind of sections where it's a little joggy instead of being like one line, but I'm also kind of just like, maybe it's supposed to be like that. So I'm not worrying about it too much. I got to do these little wraps though, my first time kind of trying a new technique where instead of just knitting stuff, you get to do fun things with your working yarn. So you get to wrap your yarn around some stitches and have a good time. That's my other finished object. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That sounds right. So yeah, I had some productive time in between last podcast. The only thing that I actually am working on right now is a hat, because winter is coming. And this is the Lagom hat. And forgive me, but I have no idea who's actually responsible for the pattern. I'll put it up. But this is a free pattern on Ravelry, and it's just a simple 1x1 rib slouch hat. So I'm working on this right now, and I love it. And I'll put it on because I could have a messy bun head hat, basically, if I just bound it off right now. There, perfect. Nailed it. I'm so basic. So I'm knitting this out of the Cascade Eco Highland Duo. Once again, not paying attention, but it's the Highland Duo yarn from Cascade, and I've never used it before, and I bought it because it's literally a cloud. It's amazing. It's the softest, and this is kind of inevitably what all of my cakes end up looking like. It's the softest friggin' yarn I've ever touched, and I believe that it's alpaca, and there's something else. I think it's the baby alpaca, or the alpaca that makes it so fuzzy. It's got a beautiful halo on it though. And I believe this color is called Cafe au lait. It sheds worse than my cats do. Like, I've had to vacuum myself after knitting this. I had to pull all of the fibers out of my ring after winding it, and then I had to clean my winder because it is quite fuzzy. But that halo, I just can't even handle it. It's so nice. And this is going to be really nice and cozy because it can get pretty flippin' cold over here. So really excited about this. Almost done. I think I have to knit another 1/2 inch before I start the decreases. So that's kind of the only thing that I'm working on right now is this bad boy. And once again, it's the Lagom hat, and I'll put the pattern in the show notes because I don't remember who actually put the pattern up. So nice, squishy, beautiful, fuzzy goodness. And that's the only whip that I have. And I've been working on it for a week now. I cast it on when my mom and I were driving out to Cochrane, which is about it's outside of Calgary, and I live in Edmonton, so it's about 3 hours drive. We were going out to it was the Prairie Girls Market, looking for, I want a hutch. I want a vintage hutch. So I've been looking for that because I would like to have my yarn storage enclosed. So I've been looking for like some mid-century kind of vintage looking hutch that has doors on it. And we're also we were looking for things for wedding planning. So if you can see behind me, we got this frame from a seller. So that's I really like old ornate frames, and this one's really quite beautiful. So she had painted it and made it look cool, so we bought it because we're going to use it in the wedding. So driving home from that, I started this hat and cast it on, and I'm just not doing too good with the knitting right now. I'm having a really hard time actually sitting down and knitting, because by the time I actually get to sit down at the end of the day, I'm kind of exhausted and I don't even have the energy to knit. So that's the only thing that I'm working on right now. I do have to start looking to, let me back up. I have plans to knit a wedding shawl. I have officially bought the pattern Dancing with Bears by Carol Sunday, so that is officially going to be my wedding shawl. I have been looking through the vendors list on Knit City because I do need to buy yarn for it, and I want it to be like really beautiful. So I'm thinking of getting some hinterland range when I'm in Vancouver. I don't know what color yet. I will be bringing the sample of my wedding dress with me to kind of just make sure that like everything works. But I'm planning on holding a strand of mohair as well. So hinterland would be beautiful and like so nice, especially in the middle of January when it's cold. So I'm pretty set on getting some hinterland. I don't know the color yet, but wedding shawl needs to start happening now. And I will be starting that hopefully as soon as I get back from Vancouver from Knit City, because who knows how long it's going to take. It is a bottom-up shawl, I guess. So you begin with the lace parts and then it's just garter inside. So I'm hoping that it won't take too long just because it is garter. And it will be one of those projects that I can kind of just take around and work on without thinking about it after you get past a certain point. But I also don't want anyone to see it. So I'm having a thing where I'm like, you need to get the yarn ASAP, you need to start the shawl ASAP, and yeah, so wedding shawl needs to start pretty quick. The only other works in progress, no, not even works in progress, I have some finished objects, but this is kind of part of my like Sarah Sews a thing. So in addition to the Mount Pleasant tee, my goal was to sew a high-waisted skirt to go with it, because it's a crop top, and it's hard to put things under crop tops because for me, I have a very long torso, so a lot of the stuff that I buy is longer. So theoretically, you could put the crop top tee over top of it, but sometimes just regarding how things lay, I found that like if I put the tee over, it kind of like pushes in the fabric a little bit and makes it... Does anyone understand what I'm talking about today? I feel like I'm doing a very bad job of communicating in English. It kind of like changes the flow of the clothes. So the original goal was to not have to worry about putting anything underneath it, that I would just have a skirt that I would wear with it. So I was looking at patterns, and there is this Berta pattern, and it's the 8155, and I really liked the shape of them. So I sewed this one. Which is the A. And it has this thing on the way. This is gonna be me describing sewing. It has a thing that does this thing and that thing, and because I'm still like super new, I've never really sewed anything before this that worked out, or that I didn't just wing. But I sewed this version here, and if you can see on the pattern, it has that little lip at the top of the skirt. And I sewed that version, and here it is. Once again, it's really hard to show, but it's a pretty lightweight denim. In retrospect, I wish that I would have used something substantially heavier. But here we go, first sewing project anyways. It's a little creased because it's been in a pile in my room because I just don't feel like putting any laundry away. But yeah, so it's basically just a skirt. The one thing that I am not quite sure about, and this is because my body is a little bit unconventional when it comes to shape, is my waist is pretty much a 30-inch waist. My hips are a 42. So when there's over like a 10-inch difference between your hips and your waist, that can be like problematic sometimes. So I find that the waist on this is a little bit too big. And this part here that goes up, I did buy a belt, like a woven fake leather cheap belt from H&M that does help when you wear it, because you would have to have something to define the waistline for sure with this. So I picked up a belt, but I still feel like this part up here is too big. And I know that the day that I wore it out was kind of one of those exercises in body positivity and remembering that, like, hey, it's okay to, I was out of my comfort zone, basically. And that day I was like sweating all day because I was just hot and I wasn't feeling good. And I felt really frumpy in this. One of the things that I will say about pencil skirts for me are, number one, built for my body type, because I am very much an hourglass, very much made to wear that kind of style. But I'm also very self-conscious about anything that happens below my waist, because my waist is generally the smallest part of me. And you know that like gut feeling, like when you wake up in the morning and you're like, I'm skinny, and then you eat something and you get that like feeling of bloat and bigness. With this fabric being so thin, it's very unforgiving. So I feel like I need to Spanx it when I'm wearing this just to keep everything smooth. And this part here is just a little bit too big, and it goes up quite high. So if we're looking here, there's my boobs, and there's this part of my skirt, and it goes basically right to the top. That would be fine if it was maybe tighter, just because even if you see that, like, it looks pretty legit right there. But with it going up so high, because yeah, like literally, there's the boobs. With this going up so high, I feel like it needs to be tighter, and it's just quite too big. So I'm not sure if there's a way that I can, like, without having to rip it all apart, make it maybe a little bit tighter there. Just because, yeah, it does make me feel a little bit frumpy when it's so all over the place. It's also probably too long. So I'm gonna try and hem it a little bit higher. The only problem with that is on the back here you've got the slit, and I'm gonna have to rip out some of the stitches and make the slit a bit higher, because I think I'm gonna take it up maybe like another inch, maybe 1.5 inches. Because I think it's too long. I think it makes me look really frumps with it as long as it is. So this is a good start. I was really proud of making it. And just like the things like being able to pick the buttons, and I picked this one because it looked like the sky at night. I sewed a thing. Sarah sewed a thing. So I have plans to do the B skirt, so that one, which is pretty much the same. This broad is wearing it. Pretty much the same, it just doesn't have that waist thing, and it seems to be a little bit shorter. But I've already picked up fabric for them. So this is a pant weight. It's got some stretch to it. And by stretch, I mean like quite a bit. So I'm gonna be making one. Oh my God, how did I fold this? Lord, what's wrong with me? I'm gonna be making another one out of this. And then I also picked up some of this heavier denim in like a burgundy. This looks really bright. That's better. But if you see closely, it's got some like grayish silver undertones in it. So I'm going to be making another one out of that as well. Another thing that I found, and I don't have the fabric yet because my membership at Fabricland expired, and I'm waiting for it to go on sale, and I'm waiting for me to stop spending money on other things right now, so I could go and get my membership renewed and pick up some fabric. But I want to make this dress, and this is the McCall's M7381. But I want to make the dress that this chick is wearing, and I found some really pretty fabric that I want to do it in. So I'll put in a picture of the fabric because I have a picture of it. But sewing is pretty cool. I just wish that my life wasn't such a chaotic mess right now and I could actually spend some time doing it, because I'm pretty terrified to do it on my own. So with my mom and I kind of stressing about wedding stuff, we don't have a lot of time to sit and her yelling at me about, you know, Sarah, just pin the fabric. It's not that hard. Like over and over again. So yeah, that's pretty much it for working on stuff. Oh, no wait. I also, and I already ironed it, so I've just got it hanging, because if I have to iron friggin' fabric one more time, I'm gonna not be happy. But I picked up some of this cotton. Is it cotton? It's fabric. I picked up some of this fabric, and I want to try making some bento bags out of it, as well as a retro kind of like rockabilly headband out of the blue. And then I also picked up this one. So I would like to try to make some bento bags. I want to rip off Fringe Supply a little bit, but make it cheaper, because nothing is more fun than buying something from the States and having shipping cost like as much as the thing that you're buying. So we're gonna try some knockoffs here. And also just kind of practice sewing, because I would really like some bento bags for my projects. They're easier to transport. So that's kind of a plan that I have no idea when I will get around to doing. Let me consult my handy dandy iPad to make sure that I have talked about everything that I want to talk about. I have, cool. Yeah, so in terms of stash enhancement, I've been trying to be good. Trying and failing. Mostly. But I picked up a knitter's keep, which is something that I've wanted for a while because of road trips, basically. But it's the Cocoa Knits knitter's keep. I wanted the gray one. I've been holding out for the gray one. Finally got the gray one. So I picked up this bad boy from the internet. There's a yarn store somewhere in the States where shipping was $5. And they had a sign up to our membership and get 10% off, and they had these in stock. So I signed up to get a membership, got my 10% off coupon, ordered this bad boy, 10% off, and then I had to pay shipping and duty fees on top of it. So when places offer either cheap or free shipping, it's probably because you're gonna get hit with duty later. So anyways, I picked this guy up. Works with my counter that I got in Kelowna. It also comes with a whole bunch of these like stitch markers that are magnetic. So you can just generally do what you want. And some tapestry needles. So with, you know, Knit City and stuff coming up and being on a plane and being in bars and knitting, I'm really excited that I have this. I'm really excited to pack it. I'm really excited to just generally have one of these bad boys for knitting on the go. With yarn stash enhancement, oh, and then this is how much I had left out of my 2 skeins for my Mount Pleasant, and this is how much I had left out of my 2 skeins for my Succulents. So not bad. I need to figure out what to do with things like this, because they just sit in my stash. Because I think I've abandoned all hope for any kind of a blanket. I just kind of don't care. Anyways, I picked up 3 skeins for myself. So Hannah, it was really funny because Hannah, who is the owner of Palindrome Knits, I was in her shop earlier that day on I was stretching after my weight workout, and I was like on my phone stretching, and I was like looking through her shop because I know she had an update. And I was sitting there going, oh, I really shouldn't buy any yarn right now. And then she had sent me a message on Ravelry saying that she was interested in donating a skein of yarn for my knit along. And then I was like, oh, shit, this is a sign. So I was looking at 2 different ones and just decided to get them both because you guys don't even need an explanation. You know how this works. So I picked up 3 skeins of yarn from her shop for myself. And conveniently, it was just like, hey, thanks for wanting to donate yarn. I literally was like, I have 3 skeins of your yarn in my Etsy cart right now. So it worked out really well. But the ones that I picked up are her Kisa, I think it's Kisa because it sounds like Icelandic related. Her 70% superwash merino, 20% cashmere, 10% nylon, so her MCN. I picked up 2 skeins in my favorite color, which is pink, and the reason why I got both of them is because there were 2 available and I just didn't want anybody else to have them. So they are called toe bean, and it's supposed to be the colors of cat beans on their little beans on their feet. So because Stella, her nickname is Beans for this very reason, I had to get both skeins of toe bean. And then the other one that I was looking at is called newsprint, so this is also her MCN. And part of me really wants a brioche shawl in this, and I'm kind of thinking of doing a Le Milieu by Mina Phillip, the asymmetrical triangle. But that means that I have to do brioche, and I'm not feeling confident in brioche. So I'm holding on to these for a while now. I don't know what to do with them yet. They're just really soft and beautiful, and they're like my favorite colors, so who knows? Whatever they get made into will be beautiful because I'm hoarding these. These are incredible. You should really check out her shop. If she's got stuff in it, you should order it because it's beautiful. And then the other stuff that I got was at the grand opening to the public of the Fiber Nook, which is Edmonton's second yarn store. So this is the one that opened up on 63rd Avenue and 99th Street. If you live in Edmonton, you should really check them out. The owners are fantastic. So there is Brenda, there's Roz, and Leslie. And I think Leslie right now, I think it's Leslie. I hope I'm not wrong, but I think Leslie is in Ireland right now on a yarn crawl. So that's pretty cool. But Brenda, I didn't know she was, because they're the Wandering Woolies and they started their own yarn store, and I'm so happy. But Brenda is also the owner of the Tickle Trunk, which is a very wonderful sex positive education store. She's great, and I didn't know that she was like a knitter. So when I saw her there on the opening day, I was just like, I didn't know you knit. I've done a couple, I don't want to say courses, but a couple seminars with her, and she's just wonderful. The Tickle Trunk is a fantastic store if you're looking for anything sexy or, you know, education, that kind of thing. So I was really excited to see that Brenda had another business in Edmonton, and that was going to be the yarn store. So the very first day that they opened, which was September 2nd, the Tuesday after the long weekend, I was sitting in my car in the parking lot, and I had 13 minutes, and I was just like, I hope I'm not the only person that's going to be here for opening. I was the 3rd person in the door that day, and it was really exciting, and I checked out their store. So they're still pretty small. They carry I'm trying to think, I think they had Malabrigo, Ancient Arts, a couple other ones, but I know that they're looking to get more yarn. They're looking to focus more on indie dyers. They're looking to kind of fill the void in Edmonton that I find exists in our yarn stores, because River City has a lot of the basics, and they have a lot of the safe yarn choices, I would say. If you're looking for specific trends or what's hot now, that's not necessarily kind of what they seem to have, in my opinion anyways. I kind of like the idea of being able to just go and buy cake yarn, because cake yarn for me, I love speckles, I love all of that kind of stuff. So when it comes to just kind of what they're hoping to have in store. I know that that was one of the things that they had said, that they're kind of looking to focus more on indie dyers, Canadian yarn dyers, and just kind of capture that age range of kind of like millennial knitter kind of thing. So they carry Vivid yarn, and I picked up 2 more skeins of Vivid, which I went nuts over at the Fiber Frolic back in May. So this is Nereid, and this is her 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. There's 463 yards in here, and it's her Nereid colorway. So I would like to make socks out of this at some point, but who knows when that'll be. And then I picked up another skein called, that one. This one I want to find a shawl for, but this one's called Stardust, and it's the same base. So there's just some really pretty blue and purple speckles in here, a little bit of pink. So yeah, got 2 skeins of Vivid. They also, if you haven't been there and you're from Edmonton, if you buy one of their tote bags for $5, it's just a small, it says the Fiber Nook on it, but if you buy one of their tote bags and you bring it back afterwards, you get 5% off your purchase, so you save your tax. So generally, I'm really happy with, you know, their hours are great. The store location can be a little tricky because it is on a major road where you can't quite turn directly into the little strip mall there. But they have a great store. It's beautiful inside. They're really encouraging people to go and kind of make that a community hub. So having knit nights there, just going and hanging out and bringing your project, or they're going to start posting classes and everything. I'm really, really happy with them. I think they're lovely people. They're open to suggestions. They're open to recommendations. And I'm so happy that we have a second store in Edmonton now. I think we definitely need the competition, and just kind of to inspire a little bit of creativity, I think, because when you only have one major yarn store, I think it's really easy to just get complacent, I think. I think the competition will kind of promote the best in both stores, and I'm really happy that we have that opportunity to kind of have a little bit more choice here. So I know that if you're from Edmonton, they're always looking for recommendations. I know that they've been posting some stuff on Instagram, just kind of checking to see what type of tools people like. They're bringing in AHHHHH needles. Definitely check them out. And got a little thing. Where'd you come from? But definitely check them out if you're in town. They're wonderful ladies, and I'm really excited for them. So congratulations again. And it's dangerous having me so close. So yeah, 2 skeins is not that bad though. That's not too much damage. Anyways, I think that's pretty much it for all of my knitting, creativity, blah, blah, blah stuff. In terms of life things, like I said, I'm in the heyday of wedding planning. I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like a lot of people are looking at me kind of like, you need to make decisions, and I'm like, I don't know what I want and I don't know what I'm doing. So we're almost 4 months out and I still haven't ordered wedding invitations. It's hard when your fiance is a very busy human being. Yeah, it's been a little stressful. He's had a couple things that he's had to do, and right now he's in Jasper helping with a university science course. So he's not here this weekend. Last weekend we had our mother-in-law here, so it was kind of, I don't want to say it was difficult to do anything. It's just one of those things where it's like, I'm not in the mood to do anything for like wedding planning. So last weekend it was more just about visiting and kind of whatever. And then the weekend before that, something else was going on. So tomorrow I'm going to see my mom and we're going to get some stuff done. But at the same time, it's just like, I need my dude to be here because I don't want to make all the decisions myself. But, you know, he's been busy, and I don't want to force it when he comes home after, like, you know, a long day and just being like, hey, we need to do this. So yeah, wedding planning is kicking my ass right now a little bit. And then just for life stuff, like Knit City is coming up, so I'm really excited. I think we leave in less than 2 weeks now. My mom's coming with me, and my sister-in-law Caitlin, so she's never been on a plane before. She's never been to Vancouver. I'm so excited to take her. I'm so excited to go. Vancouver is one of my favorite cities, and I just love being by the ocean. So I'm really excited to go. I'm really excited to see all my knit friends and get drunk with my knit friends and have food with my knit friends, and just really excited. So Knit City this year, I've already started prepping my shopping list because I need to be good. I need to know what I'm doing. So really excited about Knit City. I'm excited about the cooler temperatures. My apartment is finally in that temperature range where I can have solid coconut oil again, which is really exciting. And we turned on the fireplace for the first time. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited about a lot of things, and I'm ahead at work right now, and that never happens. So things just feel a little bit easier and better and awesome, and I'm definitely in a pretty good place just personally. So I'm hoping that at some point my life calms down a little bit where I feel like I can kind of craft again, but right now my brain is so full of wedding stuff that there's like no room for anything else. I'm gonna have to get started on my Christmas stuff too, because that's something that's gonna take up some time. I got so much to do. So much to do. Oh my gosh. There's too much to do. Anyways, I think that's pretty much it for me. So thanks for sitting through this. I'm glad I did it, because if I would have put it off another week, I wouldn't have done it. So I'm so sorry for not getting back to you sooner. I don't know when I'm gonna be back. You guys know the drill by now. Consistently inconsistent, and that's just kind of what this is. Anyways, it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I still haven't eaten today, so I should go do that. So thanks for watching. If you want to follow along with any of the other things that I'm doing, Instagram is your best bet. Even though they've completely destroyed the platform and ruined everything that I love about the app, I still use it. I'm looking at you, Mark Zuckerberg. You're the worst. You suck. You're the worst person. Okay, I'm just gonna go into like a 30-second rant about Instagram. Number one, I love it because I like the photos that I take on it, and I like posting in the Snapchat-esque filters and the stories. I love it. But if I get one more goddamn ad that reinforces that like shitty body standard and that expectation that women should always just be working towards the next thing, I am going to scream. I mark so many ads as offensive because it's like anything beauty based or anything like those stupid waist trainers, like, oh, it drives me crazy. We are subjected to so many of these images and so many of these ads on a regular basis that are meant to make us feel like we are not good enough unless we're using this, unless our faces are like this, unless our bodies are like this. And Instagram used to be my refuge, where I used to go and look at all of the things that my knitter friends posted. I looked at all of the things that my real life friends posted, and I didn't have to worry about it not being chronological. I didn't have to see stupid ads for everything under the sun. And now it's just like, I haven't even really been posting that much because being on Instagram is ruining my life a little bit. I'm sick of the ads. I just want my feed in order. Like, I really just kind of want Mark Zuckerberg to go down. And I think it'll be interesting what happens with his presidential bid and just all the facts that like he's under investigation for like selling ads to Russia. Maybe my rage will, his uppance will come. Anyways, even though I hate Instagram so much for what it's done to itself and how it's like the one platform that consistently ruins the user experience and people still use it, you can find me on Instagram for most of my online presence. I know we all feel this way. We're all guilty of it. Fucking Instagram. Anyways, I'm Loose Pages on Instagram. You can find me on Ravelry as romperlust. Check out the group. Check out my Help Me I'm Getting Married thread that I will be putting up. Finish your finished objects and make sure that you're submitting them into the Fuck It It's Fine. Fuck It I'm Fine. Sorry, Shannon. The Fuck It I'm Fine Cal. And I'll just see you guys when I see you next. So hopefully things are still good the closer that we get to my wedding day. Thank you guys for watching so much. Love ya. Putting notes up on the thing if you guys want more information about anything. If I forgot to put something in the show notes, just send me a message and we can chat about it then. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye!
Oh my god! That's cool. Look at the little ones.
Okay, listen to the dog.
Watch this. Oh, there she goes. She sees it.
Oh,
Hey,
being on you.
who are these guys?
Lots and lots.
Oh my goodness, it's a baby.
She's looking.
I want one.
These are totally wild too.
Totally wild, man.
Like no part on